Me when my grandma told me I couldn't have any ice cream until I'd eaten my greens.
Oh, no, wait, no! No! Oh, come on!
Me after listening to my ex-wife tell me about her bad day at work for 3 minutes.
Stop. I can't take any more. I can't do this. I cannot do this any more. I can't do it anymore!
And this was me when my new girlfriend invited me to meet her parents for the first time for Sunday lunch.
If anybody gets in my face, I'm knocking them out.
Come on, John, best
I mean what I say.
Tommy's fight time.
I don't care. I mean what I say.
Come on, mate.
I mean what I say.
Folks, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about Shills, the dark and dirty world of the disgusting shill. Before we do that, don't forget you can buy my fragrance samples at myfragrancesamples.com. Link in the description of this video. They're in America and they ship to the America, the USA, America and the USA and Canada and Puerto Rico. It is my recommended place to get your fragrance samples over there, and a great range of designer and niche scents. Go to that link in the bio. You can trust these guys. Okay, let's talk about it. So, shilling. I'm going to expose the shills. By the way, this channel, we do a bit more than just fragrances. There will be 3 fragrances I recommend for you to try coming up in a couple of minutes too. And I'm going to talk about another little subject too. We do a bit of men's lifestyle advice, a little tiny bit of gentlemanly style, wristwatches and other stuff. It's fragrances plus now. It's the Mr. Smelly Winning at Life channel. Winning at life while smelling good. That's the theme here. Okay. The shill. What is a shill? We hear this word used as a derogatory term levelled at fragrance influencers very often nowadays. So what is the origin of this word shill? The etymology, I think that's the phrase, isn't it, of this word is a little bit unclear exactly, but basically it's a word that has existed for quite a while. I think it used to be used to describe the people who perhaps were there when snake oil salesmen came to these towns in the Wild West and flogged these, basically useless supposed medicines that could cure cancer and arthritis or whatever, and the shill would be the man or woman who was paid to stand in the crowd and put their hand up and say, oh, my wife used this or my husband used this and it cured her cancer after 3 weeks. So they were apparently just a member of the public enthusiastically endorsing the product, but in fact they'd been paid to lie and say that it worked in a way that it really didn't. So that, I think, that is one of the apparent origins of the word. So nowadays the term basically means a person who is paid to promote a product without revealing that they've actually been paid to promote it. So they are being disingenuous and pretending maybe that they're giving an honest review, or in some way not disclosing their relationship with the organisation or product or brand, and therefore they are kind of tricking people to some extent into thinking they're giving an objective opinion about something, whereas of course they have a huge vested interest in doing so. So that's what a shill is. So in terms of fragrances, this is the term often thrown at people who do YouTube videos, usually people doing it professionally for a living, and they are allegedly plugging products that they don't really think are very good, or at least that they are basically getting incentives, financial incentives of one kind or another, or maybe just free bottles to say things are good, when in fact, therefore we can't trust their opinion. Okay, so they may be, I don't think they're lying, but they're exaggerating how good a fragrance is because it was sent to them free and they want to keep getting free stuff, or maybe they're getting money in some way. Let's talk about how this happens, how someone becomes a shill. I will be recommending 3 great fragrances from brands with whom I have no connection whatsoever. By the way, a brand with whom I do have a connection is Norton & Wilson. That's my fragrance brand. Go to nortonandwilson.com. You can get Chic Profuminare. It's now back in stock. It was out of stock in the USA and Canada. And the amazing new follow-up to Gravitas Essentia is available to buy USA, Canada, and the UK. Go there. Amazing fragrances. So proud of those. I do disclose my relationship with that brand because it's my actual brand, so I'm not even a shill, because I am actually the brand myself. So that's a different matter. Anyway, moving on. Okay, how does this happen? How does someone go from being an honest YouTuber like me to becoming a dirty, disgusting shill? I'll explain how it happens, because I've had my moments of temptation, let me tell you. So if somebody starts doing a YouTube channel, maybe nowadays some of them do set out to hopefully do it for a living. They're thinking, I can become an influencer. But in many cases, they set out just to do it as a hobby. They have a full-time job doing something completely different, and it's a side hustle. And the channel does okay, and they get a little bit popular, and they get a few people watching the videos. And then at some point, either they ask someone for a free bottle, and that company says yes, or the company maybe gets in touch with them and says, can we send you a bottle of our fragrance for review? And they feel flattered, and they think, how lovely, of course. that would be fantastic. Please send it to me. And it gives them a sense of self-esteem. It feels nice to get free stuff. Of course, if you really love fragrances, getting a free bottle, always a nice thing. So at that point, it's reasonably innocent. They may feel flattered to get the fragrance, and they may then receive it and give it, in their own mind, an honest review. But probably even at that point, having been sent the thing free, they're not going to be inclined to trash it too much. And most fragrances do smell sort of nice to one extent or another. So the review probably will be very, very favourable most of the time. They may point out things that could have been better or whatever. Okay, so that may be all that happens. So these people are not hardcore shills. Maybe their channel never gets big enough for any big financial incentives. But then maybe the company says, thank you so much for your kind review. Why don't we give you a discount code? 10%, Jimmy10 gets you 10% off for the customer, and we'll give you, the YouTuber, 10% for every sale we make. And they will, of course, many of them will say, fantastic, thank you very much. So at that point, then they're thinking, I know, let's include that one in my summer top 10. And they probably think, you know what, I still do really like it. So I'm not lying. It's still, I still think this is a great fragrance, but hey, what's the harm if the company gets, an extra sale from me and I get 10% and then my customers get 10% off. But now, there is a sort of slight element that this is no longer a completely objective opinion that they like the fragrance. There's an influence. There's something in the back of their mind that might just have influenced them to put that fragrance in the top 10 over another. And this is how the gradual shill thing creeps into the channel. Then they might get a sponsorship from it. They might get something a little bit more set up with the brand. They say, hey, we really loved you putting that one in our top 10. We got a few sales off that. So why don't we send you one a month and we'll give you an affiliate code for that. Also, well, yeah, okay, so that begins to happen. How bad is this? I don't know. Is it really a terrible thing? No, I think the fragrance world is a bit holier than thou. People getting upset about this, really. What do you expect? It goes on all the time in the makeup world and all the other kind of things on YouTube. No one bats an eyelid, okay? But we seem to be a bit sanctimonious here in the fragrance community. So you get all these trolls and people saying that they've sold out and all this kind of thing. But it's okay. So this, I'm telling you how it happens. Next, the other thing that could happen is also, if you're doing quite well on your channel, people will send you an individual fragrance and say, we'd like you to make a video reviewing this fragrance. And you might think, well, you know what, I can put it in a top 10 video for you. Maybe you can give me an affiliate code. But to be honest with you, that doesn't always give me the kind of money that I want so to make an individual fragrance video about your product, first of all, I'm going to take a hit because individual fragrance reviews don't get me that many views. So if you want me to do that, I've got to be honest, it's going to cost you $150. I'll do you a review, $150, but I'm still going to be objective. And the company says, okay, fair enough. So then, a lot of the time, I'm not saying this necessarily happens, but I would imagine, okay? I'm not naming any names. And so they make the review. It doesn't get that many views compared to their others, but they'll take the hit because they're getting paid directly money from the brand to do it. And of course, they're probably in their own mind think I am being objective, but of course, they'd like to get another review to do for that brand next month and the next month after. So it's likely that they're going to put a positive gloss on this product. So at this point, yes, to some extent, they are shilling. Is this the crime of the century or the worst thing ever? Probably not, but I think this is what goes on. Also, people have sponsorships with wholesale brands, so you could be sponsored by bigfragrance.com, where you go and buy your fragrances, and at that point you can still be objective about the fragrances. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the professionalization of YouTube. I get super chats, okay, for my channel when I do the live streams. Well, that's good, isn't it? Because I don't have to say anything good or bad about any fragrance to get that super chat. At least it is an unbiased way, it's a way I can get money in without any kind of corruption going on. It's just open. You pay money to have a comment on the screen. So people have a go at me about that. I mean, what do you want me to do? I've got to make the money somehow. It's either that or I go lying to you and saying products are fantastic when I hate them. What do you want me to do? Anyway, so this is kind of how it happens. So we get, these are the things that happen. This is how it gradually creeps in. In the reviewer's mind, they're not telling you a horrible lie because they think, well, you know what, I do like these fragrances anyway, and I would have maybe mentioned them anyhow. But I'm just, what's the harm if I give my customer a 10% thing off? And what's the harm if I get a little bit of money for all my hard work making the video? But it does compromise the integrity of their video somewhat, arguably, you could say. So this is the truth of how shilling says. None of these shills think, I know I am a dirty liar, I am a criminal, and I just don't care. They don't care that, but also they don't believe they're really doing anything wrong. And you know what? Perhaps they have a point. I personally very rarely get sent things for free. It's not really part of my business model to do reviews of bottles that I get free. I don't wish to get loads more bottles. I don't need any more fragrances. It's not part of my business model for my channel to try and get a paid video that I make for a brand that sent me something free, and not to tell people that I've been paid to do it. It probably is part of some channels' business model to do that, to be honest with you, but it just doesn't happen to be part of mine because I've got my own fragrance brand and other ways I make the money, the small pittance I make off this channel. But what do you think about that? What do you think about my expose of just the honest truth of how shilling works and how it's not as dirty and disgusting as you think, and the people doing it probably feel fine about it? What do you expect? YouTube is a professional thing in the end, and as it becomes more professionalized and YouTube fragrance channels get bigger and bigger, of course, you want to make some money out of that channel. You got 100,000 subscribers, you're getting 40,000 views on your videos. You've got to make some money somehow, haven't you? I mean, what do you want from people? Come on. Do you expect them to go and work at... This is the point as well. Do you expect these people to be so holy that they still, even though they could have made some money by doing this so-called chilling, they still... No, I'd still rather get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, scrape the ice off my car, and then go down to the station, get the train to work and work in an office. Of course they're going to take this opportunity to do it. What do you expect? Okay, great fragrances I'm not paid to promote. Je suis un homme. État libre d'orange. This is an amazing is it a fougere? No, I don't know the definition. It is a brilliant fragrance themed around Napoleon Bonaparte. Nothing to do with Aventus. It's got cognac, leather, and all these kind of rich notes that symbolise the strident life of Napoleon Bonaparte, who apparently liked to drink cognac, and he had Corsican leather, or was it Russian leather boots, and all this kind of stuff. It is a really brilliant kind of green, leathery, slightly boozy fragrance, very masculine, an old school vibe, but a bit of that modern chic, niche magic. Okay, not chic, niche magic. Reasonably priced as well for a niche fragrance. Really like Je suis un homme for a rugged masculine fragrance with a bit of panache. A rather more powdery effeminate fragrance, although it's pretty much unisex. But yeah, what's the word? Metrosexual leaning fougere. Boy from Chanel. I think it's 2016 release. It's a beautiful powdery floral fougere, so it has your usual lavender and the citrus and the tonka, and it has this kind of airy floral tone and a powderiness to it, so it's a very dandyish kind of fougere fragrance, very versatile. You can wear it in all seasons, very fresh, and nothing of the rugged hairy chest 80s vibe. I really like this one. And another cheapie here, because those were two expensive ones. Cacharel pour l'homme. I mentioned it in my last video. Still available for about £30, 100ml. Beautiful citrus with florals and woods, and the unique addition of this very recognisable nutmeg note. A great fragrance. 100ml, £30. I love this. Wearing it a couple of days in a row lately, so if you want a nice cheapie, go for that one. Okay, other little thing, life advice for you guys, is if you need advice from a loser like me. I know winning at life, it's ironic, okay, but I have a life, and it's not the worst life ever. Here's my big piece of advice, and it sort of ties into me thinking about other YouTube channels and talking about shilling. So guys, advice for you. It doesn't come from any thought out philosophy. I'm just a humble man. Try to judge yourself against yourself and not against others. Don't judge yourself versus other people. So if I look at other YouTube channels and I see people who started at the same time as me or after me, and they've got more subscribers than me, and they get more views on their videos than me, then I'm going to feel down on myself. Yes, it could motivate me to improve, and sometimes perhaps it does, but it's not a good way to look at things. Maybe they just appeal to a different audience because of the style of their channel. Some of the more populist channels where they feature the more mainstream fragrances, they're going to bring in a bigger audience than mine. In some cases, also, they're better at editing the videos and putting together a more compelling video. They're better at making the thumbnails. Okay, I can try harder. I can try and be better, but I can only be the best version of myself. Try and think of that way in your own life, whatever it may be you're doing. If you've got a YouTube channel, great. If you're thinking about your career, don't judge yourself against your neighbour or your friend. I know people, friends and contemporaries of mine, with much better paying jobs, much bigger houses, much more money in their bank accounts. Maybe on paper their life is more successful. They have a better car. They have a marriage and a family. But often I don't have a marriage and a family. Are they happier than me though? Oftentimes not. They may appear more successful and have, if you think having a family and children makes you conventionally successful or conforming to what we think of as a good life for a man, maybe they've done better than me, but you know what? I can honestly say, knowing a few people with, more money than me, a better career, maybe a wife and children, I don't think they're happier than me. So what appears to be someone doing better than you may not be, depending how you measure success. I just measure it on happiness and enjoying life, and there I'm doing all right. So don't judge yourself against other people. Try and improve on your own best efforts. And so if I judge my videos, I see how well has my latest video done versus my last 10, and I try and get to the top of that league. And by doing that, I'll get better vis-a-vis other people too. And if I'm judging, if I'm trying to make myself look fit and lean and lose some weight and look better, I don't judge myself against Daniel Craig or George Clooney or other people, men on Instagram. But I try and just judge myself over how I looked last month, or how I, knowing the best version of myself. You can't polish a turd, as they say. Don't judge yourself against other people, but do try and be the best version of yourself that you can be. All right? Remember that. Now, if you've enjoyed the video, please do subscribe. It's great to have you here. Now, remember also, let's project. Whatever we're doing in life, let's project. And though life may sometimes stink, at least we can always smell good. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.